What's good, everybody? We back here with another episode of It's Horton's 1v1s. And today, we got a familiar but yet still unfamiliar face in the city of Pittsburgh.
Right.
And I say this with all due respect. Who the fuck is DJ Chevy?
Oh man, that is so funny. In a nutshell, he is a son, a brother, a father, a uncle, a husband, a mentor. Man, there's a lot of layers, but when it comes to this music thing, he's just a student of the game, a person who loves this to its core, and has always committed to being for artists.
I knew you already,
Yes.
but I guess there was people who didn't know you. We ain't gonna jump the gun.
Correct.
I'm gonna give you a chance to get people to know you. You know what I mean?
Thank you.
And with the interview process, I always want to jump back to the very first time that you realized that you was in love with your craft.
The craft of DJing?
No. Hip hop. When did you fall in love with hip hop?
I fell in love with hip hop in 1983, 84. First exposure to Grandmaster Flash, Furious 5. First exposure to African Bambaataa. First exposure to Curtis Blow. So it was this thing. It was a different type of sound. You know, prior to that, you're listening to your Smokey Robinsons. You're listening to your Dionne Warwick. You're listening to the early Patti LaBelle, you know what I mean? Like, so I'm raised on funk. I'm raised on R&B. I'm raised on rock and roll. All of these things. But I remember, hearing Planet Rock for the first time. It was like, oh, this is different. This is different. This is different right here. And then I remember hearing, Curtis Blow, These Are the Breaks, and Basketball. You know what I mean? Like, this was monumental stuff.
Yeah, that's hip hop.
Yeah, and you got to understand, like, this isn't on the radio. You understand what I mean? Like, when I was coming up, Whammo had no rap. Like, you didn't hear rap. This is what made Sly Jock who he was. Sly Jock was the first person putting rap music on the radio after midnight.
So just to ask,
yes.
Because you took it back. Like,
yeah.
Like whenever you fell in love with hip hop as a baby.
Yeah. No, well, yeah. So you got to figure 83, 84, 13, 14. Yeah.
So before then it was disco, right? Or was it funk?
Well, you had disco because
I meant to say funk.
the very first record I ever bought was Ring My Bell by Chic. You know what I mean? So that's kind of a poppy, funky. It all depends upon how you want to place it. But yeah, man, Heat Wave and the Commodores, and you know what I mean? Like, this is what you had. Like, I remember the very first time I got to listen to music on my own, not controlled by my parents. I had an 8-track that my uncle gave me, an old 8-track radio thing, and he gave me Commodores. Boom. That's what I would listen to in the basement when I had to clean up and, do all the different things that I had to do at the house. So, but that's what I chose. Now, I had to clean up to Al Green. I had, you know what I mean? Like, my mother was picking that. My dad was picking that. But me making my own choice, the Commodores, that was, you know what I mean? It was cool. But the first record I ever bought was Chic.
All right. I'm glad I'm interviewing you, because a lot of people who I would interview, they might be a little younger than me or around my age, and I'm not old enough to really speak on hip hop from the origins. You know what I mean? Like, so whenever they said who the fuck was DJ Chevy, I'm like, you must not know this guy's a pioneer. And even outside of you being like a musical pioneer in the city of Pittsburgh, you're also like you're seasoned. You know what I mean? Like,
Yes.
you could tell people about the transition of hip hop because you was here for the Soulja Boy era too.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah,
I mean, you got to figure, and this is the way I say it. If you've never walked around multiple neighborhoods with a linoleum wrapped up under your arm, waiting and looking for somebody to battle, you may not know my life. If you've never taken all your money from your allowance and went out and bought spray cans and sprayed on a train, the second you heard one was in the neighborhood that would stop, you may not know my life. If you've never stole milk crates from the back of a store that said you was going to jail if you had them, you may not know my life. And, I was blessed to come up at the beginning of something. You know what I mean? My mother was born, R&B music was already here. Gospel was already here. Just like kind of like in the 50s things where that whole rock and roll thing, like when you came up in that period at the beginning of something, it hits different. Your connection to it's different because you take ownership of it. Hip hop is mine, bro. Like, I don't play when it comes to this hip hop thing. And I mean the culture of it, not just the music. The rap music is a part of the hip hop culture.
I'm glad you said that, because I had a 2-hour-long debate. Anybody know me, they know I ain't gonna stop if I feel like I'm right.
100%.
And basically the conversation started, we talking about hip hop, and I'm like, bro, hip hop isn't a music genre, it's a culture.
It's a culture.
And he was like, no, J. Cole, he trying to call J. Cole and Kendrick hip hop. And I'm like,
so
bro, I'm like, basketball is a part of hip hop culture. The DJ is a part of breakdancing. It's all a part of the culture, but I don't want to overspeak because you gotta tell us what the culture is.
There's 4 elements to hip hop, and I'll start them as they are. The pillar, the foundation is DJing. Playing music for people is the origin. 2 turntables, a mixer. Then that birthed. There was a technique that was used in DJing where you would find the break. You'd find that 6-8 seconds of a song that was like the funky part. It was the instrumental part, and then you would either have 2 records, and there's a lot of processes, but nevertheless, they would have 2 records, and they would just keep bringing back that one little piece. Okay, that was the break.
In reference to the song, these are the breaks.
Okay,
all right.
So that was the break of the song. Some people, if it's rock, it's the solo. You know how they have a solo, guitar solo or whatever. So this is the break of the song. Then from that birthed break dancers, the people that would create dance routines to these isolated breaks that the DJs would make. So they are the second step to this.
So TikTok ain't too far off of what hip hop is, because that's what they're doing now. They're getting a song, they're doing a dance to it, and you know what I mean?
Yeah,
similar.
Right, yeah. Creating a routine to music, yes. Okay.
Yeah, 2 different time periods, but yeah.
Now, part 3, which a lot of people confuse, is actually the graffiti.
Yeah.
Because now these break dancers would start crews. Okay? Now, graffiti was going on outside of the hip hop culture, but it was illegal. You're vandalizing shit. But if you paint the clothes of the breakdancers, now your art is being seen on a bigger scale. So literally, I have personally bought a jean jacket, taken paint, made the back panel of it saturated with paint, and then use that as your base. And then we're doing this in 83, 84, 85. Like, we're making our own clothes, painting our own pictures on our clothes because we're watching it come out of New York. Boom. So that's where your graffiti artists are fused into the hip hop culture. The rapper was there, but he didn't become a focal point until it all gelled together. Now, there was rappers, quote unquote, prior to hip hop. Like, notably, there's a song called Here Comes the Judge. I forget what the gentleman's name is, but I think his last name is Pilgrim, something like that. I apologize. I should know this and be able to quote it. But the name of the song is called Here Comes the Judge. So that is the first quote unquote song where you understand. And then there's another group, and I apologize, I believe it's the Four Poets, which is another group that are like kind of rap music is modeled after what they did. I'm sure you've heard of Gil Scott-Heron, who was a poet. He is also lumped into that because when you think about it, that's kind of the origin of PE, talking about social issues and whatever in his music and his work. So that's how that came about. Yes.
All right. That guy, Here Comes the Judge, Pigmeat Markham.
Pygmy Markham. I have the record.
Yeah.
I literally have the record. I also had a Four Poets record as well. So these things are our origins. But again, and this is why I don't get upset with, the new artists and how they do things. You're supposed to be advancing on, not destroying. Yeah. You know what I mean? You should be able to take something and make it better. So, we took that framework and just turned it into what we know today is hip hop.
Brought to you by